Hi guys and welcome back to my channel. Today I thought I would discuss some of the makeup that I have in my collection that I actually never put on my face. Most of these things I have swatched, not all of them, but most of them I have swatched, but I've never actually played with them on my face. And all of these are kind of a bit older products. I have a few things that I picked up very recently that I haven't used, but I didn't want to include them in here because obviously they are very new in my collection. But everything that is more than a couple months old that I haven't played with, I thought I would include here. But before we jump into those products, if you're new here, please consider subscribing. I would love to have you in the family. But let's just start with the first item. So I thought I would start with the eyeshadow palettes that I have. I have 3 to talk about, and actually I thought I would have way more because at the beginning of this year or even last year I had so many eyeshadow palettes I actually never used on my eyes. I had a problem where I bought a lot of eyeshadow palettes at the same time, so I stocked up on a lot of them and I kind of fell behind and I never ended up using a lot of them. But a lot of them I actually started using through my Panos Eyeshadows project. A lot of those palettes were brand new, but I obviously have used them now because I included them in that project. But if you want to see a video on all of the palettes that I started using because of my Panos eyeshadows, please let me know, because I have quite a few palettes that were untouched before I rolled them into that project. But I'm gonna start with the palettes that I have, and like I said, I have 3 to talk about. I believe the oldest of these, I picked this up end of last year, so it's just less than a year old in my collection and I still haven't used it on my eyes, and that is the Saharan 2 palette from Juvia's Place. I did pick up, I think, 3 palettes in that order. I picked up this one, the Tribe, and the Deuce palette, and this is the only one out of those 3 I haven't used. This is the perfect palette to use in autumn and winter, so it's definitely one that I should reach for, but I'm so focused on using things that I'm panning that usually palettes that I'm not panning kind of fall behind, and that's why I don't reach for them. But I will definitely make a point to use this very soon, and this is one of the contestants in my next 1 week 1 palette. That video is up, or my last video is up, where I asked people to vote, and this is one of the options. So this might be in my next 1 week 1 palette, and the other palette I'm going to show you next is the other one, but yeah, this one is the first palette I haven't used. So like I said, the next palette is another one in that kind of contest. This is the Going Coconuts by Colourpop. This one is another one I picked up just like maybe 9-10 months ago. I think I picked this up beginning of this year, so around February time I think, or maybe January, anyway, beginning this year. And this is what this one looks like. It's a beautiful neutral palette, but I just haven't played around with it on my eyes. Funnily though, I actually have used this white shade here. I have used that on my boyfriend. It's funny to say, but one time he let me do his makeup, which was hilarious, but he just wanted to kind of keep me entertained, and he said, well, you can do my makeup. So I did use that white shade on him, but I actually haven't used this on myself, so I don't know if this counts, but I think it does. And yeah, this is a really beautiful palette, and I'm really excited to try I'm really excited to play around with this one as well. So like I said, one of these 2 will definitely 100% be used in the next couple of weeks, because one of these will be my next 1 week 1 palette, but this is the second palette that I haven't used. Then the third eyeshadow palette that is untouched in my collection is one that was a gift with purchase a couple months ago, I think in around July, maybe June, July, around then. I picked up some things from Charlotte Tilbury, and this palette came as a gift with purchase, and if you spend over a certain amount of money, and I got this, but I still haven't played around with it. It's absolutely stunning, and when I swatched this out, it is so smooth and buttery. This is the Easy Eye palette in the shade Charlotte Darling. It's a beautiful palette, and I think this would be a really nice neutral palette again for me. It's a bit more kind of warm rosy tones. I feel like they look really rosy in here, but when you swatch them out, there's more on the kind of warm orangey side. But it is another beautiful palette. I just haven't gone around to playing with this yet, and like I said, when it comes to especially eyeshadows, I'm really bad at playing with palettes because I'm so focused on using all of the things I'm panning, and I do have quite a few eyeshadows that I'm panning currently. I think I calculated it up a few weeks ago, and it was like 17 eyeshadows, so I do have a lot of variety in those already, and since I do a lot of rolling projects, I usually switch them up quite often as well, so I think I don't really feel the need to pull for a lot of palettes that aren't in projects, and that's why these have kind of fallen behind. I'm going to continue on with eyeshadows. I have 3 three more, yes, to talk about, and they're all singles. I put them in this little C palette, but I'm gonna start with the one that is from Anastasia. This is a shade that I picked up in a sale. It was like, yeah, it was on sale, and this is in the shade Gem. It's one of their, I think it's used shimmer eyeshadows, and it's absolutely stunning, but I haven't played around with this on my eyes yet. I have swatched it a few times, but I feel like with this shade it's just not my absolute favorite shade. It's more of a not super intense light shimmer, and although these are shades that I would have absolutely loved maybe 5 years ago, it's not something that I reach for too much now, because I do love a bit more bold eyeshadows, although today I'm wearing quite a subtle eye look. But in general, I just don't reach for these shades that often, and I have so many of them in my collection. It is a beautiful shade though, and I do want to keep it, but I'm hoping to get some use out of this one soon. The next two shades are both from Makeup Geek. We have the shade Chickadee, which I'm going to start with. This is one of their matte eyeshadows, and obviously this is in their old formula. I don't remember when I picked up any of these singles, unfortunately, but it's quite a while ago, and I made a massive order from Beauty Bay with Makeup Geek singles, I think maybe back in 2018, and these two were in there. So they, like I said, are a bit older, and this is a shade that I was so excited to pick up. It's one of the shades that I was like most keen to have in my collection, and unfortunately I just haven't used it. I think because I have a lot more of these tones in my collection now than I did when I picked this up. I have swatched it again, but I just haven't used it on my eyes. It's definitely another shade that I really want to play with, because I'm really excited about this tone. I think it's a beautiful eyeshadow, and yeah, I just don't know why I haven't reached for this one, but I'm hoping to do so again very soon. And also a side note, I think that's kind of why I wanted to do this video as well, just to show you what I haven't used, and also kind of reminding myself that I need to reach for these items that I have here today. The last eyeshadow and the last single that I have is the shade My Thai, again from Makeup Geek. This is one of their duochromes. This goes from like a peachy color to like a pink. It's not the most intense duochrome, but it's definitely stunning, and again I have swatched this a couple of times, but I haven't used it on my eyes. I don't know, I feel like since I picked up so many singles at the same time, some of them I didn't use them, and then I got a new thing, and those singles were like never used. A few of those I have rolled into different projects, or I have used in looks where I used reach from a single eyeshadow palettes in general. But this is a shade that I just haven't reached for yet. But I'm really keen to see how this does on the eyes, because again, when I swatch it out, it's not the most intense duochrome, but it's still stunning. So I want to see kind of how this does on the eyes. So this is definitely one that I will make a note of using very soon. So let's move on to the rest of the items. I have a few base products, let's do them first. The first one I'm going to talk about is a primer. This is the Skin Illuminator from No. 7. I do have a few things in here that I got from a colleague, or an old colleague. She had a lot of makeup that she got from her mother-in-law and as gifts, but she is kind of the person that uses the same products every day, because she said that she has a really sensitive skin and a lot of things kind of make her react, so she doesn't like trying out new things. So she basically gave away brand new makeup to all of us girls in the office, and I got a few of those things, and I have 3 of them here. This is the first one of those. It's just a primer, and this one is still sealed, as you can see hopefully, and this I think is just a deluxe size as well, so I think this is something that I definitely will introduce into a project eventually. But I don't use primers on an everyday basis, and I just haven't felt the need to open this, because I have a few other primers that if I do want a primer I reach for those over this, especially since this isn't opened yet, and I kind of want to keep this fresh for as long as possible. It's not too old. I got this at the beginning of the year again, and I think she got it for Christmas last year, so it is coming up to almost a year old, but again it hasn't been opened yet. So although it is something that I should probably start using very soon, since it hasn't been open, I'm not too worried about it. But yes, I think maybe I'm gonna roll this into a project beginning of next year. The next item is actually a foundation, and this is the EX1 Invisiwear foundation. This one is in the shade, let me see if I can find it, 2.0. This is actually my second foundation from this brand. I had one before which I used up completely. This one just isn't open yet. I picked it up earlier this year, but I have been on a foundation kick, so I have been picking up quite a few new foundations, and this is just one that I haven't reached for yet, and I think that's because again I have used this up in the past. and I wasn't as keen to trying this again because obviously I tried it before, so I reached for the ones that were new that I hadn't tried first, and this one just kind of stayed behind. And I think again it's just something that I want to keep unopened for as long as possible until I actually want to start using this, because hopefully that means I can keep it fresh for a little bit longer. I have one blush in here that I haven't used. I swatched this I think a few times, but I haven't actually used it on my face, and that is another thing that I got from my colleague, and this is a blush from Clinique in the shade Precious Posy, and this is just one of their blushing blush powders. So this is what that blush looks like. It's actually a really stunning blush, but I think it's just a bit meh in my collection. I have a lot of similar shades, and I just haven't really felt the need to use this. I think this might again be something that I put into a product pan. I think it would be fun to see how long it actually takes to use up a full blush, because again I haven't used this at all. So yeah, we'll see. I have too many blushes and I think that's why I haven't used this, and I also want to keep it fresh in case I wanted to declutter it and give it to someone else, but for now I'm still keeping it in my collection, and I think that if I'm gonna keep it, I think it's probably something that I'm gonna pan in the future. So the rest of the items are all lip products. I have 6 of them here. Let's start with the 2 liquid lipsticks I have. They're both minis, and I got these both as a gift with purchase. The first one comes from Stila, and this is one of their Stay All Day liquid lipsticks in the shade Beso. This is what it looks like, and I haven't used this because I have so many red liquid lipsticks, or I have I think 2 at least, that I just didn't want to open. This one again is completely unopened. I haven't even swatched it yet, and I've done that just to kind of keep it fresh again. The next one again I haven't opened. This one is from Too Faced, and it's one of their melted matte liquid lipsticks in the shade Sellout. Similarly, I just want to keep it fresh. I haven't opened this. I think this might be something that again I'm trying to pan, because liquid lipsticks are so annoying to pan, but this is at least a mini, so hopefully I would be able to go through this a bit faster, but I just haven't felt the need to open it yet and use it. And both of those I would say are about probably like a year and a half old, so they're getting older again, but they haven't been opened, so hopefully they're still a bit fresher than some of the ones that I have been using. The next product I have is a lipstick, and this is the 3rd product that I got from my colleague. So this is actually an Estee Lauder lipstick, and this is one of their Pure Color Envies in the shade Power Grab. This one looks like this. Is a very kind of hot pink color, and I have a few of these in my collection, and that's why I haven't used this yet. I'm hoping you can see right there that this is completely new. I haven't even swatched it yet. And I think I haven't done that for a few reasons. Again, I might pass this on to someone, or I just again want to keep it as fresh as possible. Obviously this is still kind of contaminated by air compared to like the liquid lipsticks or something like that, so it's not going to keep as fresh. But again, I got this from her earlier this year, so it is a relatively new lipstick still. I mean, it's not completely new, but it's not that old yet. So I just haven't used it because I haven't decided what I want to do with this yet, and I do have quite a few similar shades in my collection already. So the very final product I have are actually 3 products from the same range, and these are all lip glosses. So these are all from Maybelline, and they're the Color Sensational Shine Glosses. I've had these for a really long time, but I actually never used them. I'm not much of a gloss person, and I was in a phase in my life where I wanted to try a few glosses to see if I could find one that I like. However, I actually more into glosses now than I used to be, so I might actually try these now to see if I do like them. But I did pick up these 3, and it's more of a kind of coral shade, a pink shade, and more of a kind of nude coral. And again, I just haven't used them. So these are the last items out of all of the products that I haven't used. So that, you guys, was all of the things that I wanted to talk about today. Again, I just kind of wanted to do this mainly to keep myself accountable and see what I have to kind of start using. A lot of these things are things that I can start using quite soon, and a few of them I'm saving for product planning, and some of them I'm saving to potentially pass on. So I'm definitely going to reach for a few of these products in the upcoming month or so, because I definitely want to get use out of them, and it was very actually helpful to make this video. But I really hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If you have any products in your collection that you haven't used yet, you should have used, please let me know down below so I don't feel as alone or as kind of bad as I do currently. But otherwise, I hope you're having an amazing day, and I will talk to my next video. Bye guys!